quiet down. Now I'm actually going to get into HTML. So this is my personal favorite because I'm a web developer, so I create websites. I'm actually creating Summit's website as we're speaking right now. But yeah, so HTML, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So basically when the internet was first invented, it was only really used by scientists, right? So people at CERN, people at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, and they would send files to each other and stuff. But nobody had a really standard way of sending files. So then one guy from the Lawrence Livermore Lab decided, well, let's standardize this and let's make it kind of interactive so I can link files to each other, right? So that's where the hypertext of the HTML comes from. The hypertext means it's linkable, like it links to other, it's interactive, right? And markup language, basically that just means like you can take a block of text and then you tell each part of the text what you want it to become. Right, so HTML, technically, HTML isn't a very difficult language to learn because all you're doing is you're labeling blocks of text as to what they should be, right? So this is all about like telling if something's a title, if something's a paragraph, if something's bolded. It has nothing to do with like logical coding, right? So and then CSS, we're going to be learning that on Wednesday when I have people helping me present this. But CSS is basically how do you make your now marked up text look colorful? How do you make it look like what I showed you earlier, right? So CSS is really where all the harder stuff comes in. But then what's even harder than CSS is JavaScript over here. So JavaScript is how you make your websites interactive. So for example, what happens when I click this button? I want something to happen, right? That's all coded using JavaScript. Or if you want to have an animated slideshow, that's all using JavaScript. And then since now everybody's looking at websites on their phone, you can't just code a website just for a laptop anymore. You actually have to code it for both a phone and a laptop. So that's what we call responsive web design. So that's when, if you stretch the screen out, it's going to be a desktop mode, but then when you make the screen small, it's going to be mobile mode. Yeah. Okay. So moving on. That's like kind of about like what you guys are going to be learning, and we're only going to be going over HTML and CSS for this purpose of this course.
Oh,
so
yeah.
this is why we made you guys download all of that. So in all of your folders should be all the files that I used to create the CodeCamp website. And for the record, I spent like 3 days non-stop coding that thing. It took a while. So your job is to try to hack the website. So open the index.html file in the folder, and then go onto your browser, and then right-click, press Inspect Element,
Which one?
the index.html. So that's the home page. So click index.html, and then right-click Inspect Element, and then now you see a bunch of stuff at the bottom, right? So I want you guys to have fun. I'm going to see whoever has the most creative way of making my website look really wacky or really cool. Yeah, so I'll give you guys 5 minutes for that. So wrap up whatever you're doing, and I'm going to have you guys actually create an HTML file and stuff, okay? So if you guys can open up Sublime Text, if you guys remember where that is on your computer, open up Sublime Text, and I'll show you how to make an HTML file now. Once you open up Sublime Text, type in this following thing. Like a less than sign, exclamation mark, doc type HTML, greater than sign, and then, oh my god, whatever, I'm not going to narrate this. Yeah, I'm just going to, so either copy it from here or write it bigger here. Make sure you guys aren't capitalizing anything else besides the doc type, but yeah, so all of that should be all caps. Okay, so after you guys are done typing that out, go to, what is it? File, new file, and then, or no, my bad. File, save as, my bad, yeah, okay. And then, name it something, and then, save as type. Make sure you're saving it as type HTML. Or CSS, but we're not going to get to that today.
Name and then .html.
I'm going to explain what you guys just typed in here. So HTML actually went through a couple iterations, right? It actually started in the, I don't even know, like HTML was a thing in like 1970s or something like that? Yeah, it started off in 1970s, so then it's gone through a couple iterations, and each iteration, they gave it a name. Like, first was HTML1, obviously, HTML2, HTML3, and then now we're on HTML5. So when you do exclamation mark doc type HTML, this makes sure that your HTML file is the most updated HTML. It's an HTML5, right? So it tells the browser this is what we're going to read, okay? And then HTML, these carets, by the way, these are called tags, okay? So we have an HTML tag here because we need to tell the browser, hey, we're creating an HTML document. Read it as an HTML document. Because you also have CSS documents, you also have JavaScript documents, and this is how the browser knows what it is. Okay, so there's that. So your HTML file is divided into two sections. It's got a head and a body, right? So in the head, we have all of our file linkings here. So I'm going to have to jump around between CSS and HTML a lot because because they're basically, like, a lot of people consider that as one language because you can't really make websites without one or the other. So the head usually goes, let me try to, wait, where is my marker? Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. So we usually have a head right here. And then we have a body like that, right? Okay, and then obviously I need to close the HTML, but I'm too lazy. But yeah, okay. So you have a head and a body. So inside of the head goes all of your linking. So when you start using CSS, you're going to use it as you're going to create another file. So how does HTML know where to find that file, right? So in the head, that's where we tell it, okay, go to this folder, go to this file, and look for our styling sheet, right? So that's what goes into the head, and that's where most of the important linking is. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, body. So body is where you're going to spend most of your time. This is where all the cool text, all the cool. This is where all the content goes. So everything that you see on my website basically is in the body, right? So everything that you're messing around with is in the body. Okay. So make sure you're coding in the body, not in the head, if you want to make cool stuff. All right. So as I said earlier, the carets mean tags. So this is how we label things in HTML, right? So if you have like a block of text, blah 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 blah, or okay, that's not there. Yeah, blah blah. Like, and we want to specify what kind of text this is. Like, for example, we want this one to be a title. Then you would add a title tag here, or not exactly a title tag, but you would add tags to specify what it is. So I'm going to introduce to you guys a couple, because there's actually hundreds of tags out there in HTML to specify certain things. But for today, I'm only going to introduce 5 different tags. Okay. So the first one is a divider. So what do you guys think a divider does?
Second.
Sure. Okay, that works. Okay, that works. So all of you guys are basically right? So divs, technically, they don't tell anything about our text. But I mean, oh yeah, and usually we just call them divs just because divider is a long word and nobody likes saying 3 syllables. Anyways, so usually we wrap things around in a div because later on when we start changing text, it's easier to change them by huge blocks of text, right? So if I wrap this thing around in a div, like so I wrap all this text into this div, right? But it doesn't actually do anything. The only thing it does is, for you, the programmer, it allows you to be able to control that entire block of text really easily later on when we want to do more stuff with it. For example, give it a white background or give it a black border or something like that. So that's where divs come in really handy. Okay, so H1 through H6. So this is headers. This is how you specify, like, what are titles, right? So if you label something as H1, and H1. Yeah. So if you label something as H1, what it's going to do, it's going to make that the largest text on your page, unless if you otherwise specify it, right? So this represents a title, so you don't have to specify the font size or anything. And then this actually goes all the way down to H6, so it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Okay. And P, paragraph, that's pretty self-explanatory. So anything that you want to wrap in a paragraph, you give the P tag, and then anything you want in bold, you wrap around with the bold tag, and anything. And this is a more special tag. this tag came out very recently. This is part of HTML5. So a button tag actually makes something a clickable button. So when you click on it, it kind of animates. It animates it from a kind of a rounded picture to more indented picture. And then it looks like you can click on it. And then you can also link stuff from the button, right? Okay. So, okay. So kind of an exercise. Talk amongst yourselves and using these tags I just taught you guys, label everything. So where would you wrap certain tags? Like, talk amongst yourselves, and I'll have some people come up here and kind of try to label everything. So yeah, see, it's not that bad, right? You're literally just labeling things and telling it what you want it to be. So this isn't the hard part yet. So don't worry, it gets a lot harder. But so today's going to be like a lot easier. But okay. So then we have lists, right? So this is how we've got two kind of. Oh, jeez, totally forgot about this. Thanks. Yeah. So we have two kinds of lists that we can work with. We can work with either an unordered list or we can work with an ordered list. So an ordered list just means you're numbering something from 1 to like 10 or something like that. And an unordered list is just bullet points, right? So and then now that you specified, so for example, I have like Daniel, Brittany, Sid, Surya. Damn. Dude, how do you spell your name?
There's an A.
Where? At the end?
There, yeah.
Oh, okay, so I was right, never mind. Anyways, okay, so I've got a list of names here, and I want to tell it, so what's the first step I should do? What kind of list do I want to make it? Alphabetical. Ordered or unordered list? Okay, it doesn't really matter. Let's just say it's an unordered list, okay? So, the tag for unordered list is UL, okay? So U as in unordered, and then unordered, and then L as in list, right? So UL. Okay, so we want to wrap this whole thing in a UL, right? But what this is doing is just telling that it's a list. It doesn't tell it what are the list elements, right? So now we got to specify what are the list elements, because for all we know, all of this could be like one giant bullet point, right? But in order to specify that each one is not one giant bullet point, we use the LI tag, right? So around each of our names, I want to put an LI tag. So, so LI, I'm not quite sure what it stands for, but basically think of it as list element. So around each of these, you're going to have to do LI, LI, and then LI. So, okay, in your HTML docs, actually do this at home because I don't have much time. I'll try to get through this as fast as I can. Okay. So, linking. So HTML wouldn't be really fun if you can't really interact with it, right? So this is where the hypertext of the thing comes from. So, jeez. Oh, there's... Yeah. So if you want to actually have it go somewhere when you click on something, I mean that's basically what we call link. So we use the A tag, right? Or, oh, my bad, I'm not even looking at my own PowerPoint. Sorry. So there's two types of linking. So you can either link to your own page, or you can link to another page, right? A different website, right? So if it's on the same page, that's called local linking. So you're just saying, go to this .html, because it's going to on the same website. But if you want to go somewhere else, like google.com, then you would use something called absolute linking, right? Okay. In order to specify this, I'll be a bit more clear. But yeah, so in order to tell something that we want it to be a link, we use the A tag. Okay, so link, right? But is this very useful right now, as I have it? Why is it not useful? There's no link, right? You're not telling it where to go. So let's tell it where to go. So in order to tell it where to go, we use something called an attribute. The attribute that we're going to use is href. So attributes are things that you can tell specific tags what it wants to do. So in this case, we're going to use the href attribute. So that tells it where to go, right? So href equals. So and in order to make the link works. So you would type in href equals, and then what you would do, you would specify where you want it to go in quotation marks. So for absolute linking, you always want to start off all of your links with HTTPS. And then HTTPS://, right? So that's how you're going to start off all of your absolute linking, okay? But if you're going to do local linking, so a web page on the same, a HTML page on the same website, then you're just going to do like page .html. Yeah. So this is what you're going to be doing if you're doing local linking. You just type in whatever you'd call the HTML file and then .html. So that's going to be able to look for it within your own HTML file. Yeah?
What if you call your own like HTML file?
It just goes back to the same page. So it'll basically perform a refresh. Right. So okay, so absolute linking, you do HTTPS / and then you just type in the URL. So in this case would be google.com or google.com. Something like that. Okay. So and then we end the tag. And here's a hint. You will never put an attribute at the end tag here. Everything is done through the first tag because that's how it knows what to do. If you put it at the end, they've already read through all the text and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? So, and then in between these tags, if you have like link, what this is going to do on your browser is link's going to appear as blue, and then once you click on it, it's going to take you somewhere else, and then if you go back onto your web page, link is going to appear as purple. So that's just how some default colors work. And then, like afterwards, after you learn some CSS, you can kind of change how that looks. And yeah. Okay, are there any questions on linking or anything? Yeah.
Does it go into the head or body section?
So, that's a very good question. So you guys remember how I talked about heads is for all the linking, right? But in this case, the A tag is specifically for the body because this is what we want to show up on our website, right? In the head, all the linking is for our own files, for our own use. This is for what we want to show people, right? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. I think that's it for today, but in your discussion sections, I think we're going to have you guys start to